Assalamu alaikum. Today I'm here with another board game review, and today I'll be telling you that why you should play Familiar Tales. Familiar Tales is a game from Playdead Games and Jerry Hawthorne, and it comes in a series of games same as Mice and Mystics, Stuffed Fables, Aftermath, and this is the next game in its iteration, and in my opinion, let me tell you from the very beginning that I think this is the best iteration of all the series of games that have been made. Now, Playdead Games have been delving into the formula of this story crafting genre, and Jerry Hawthorne has been doing it where he uses this whimsical creatures, whimsical characters, small characters in a universe, in a dungeon, and in a dungeon crawler kind of universe for family oriented gameplay. And this game is going to be exactly that as well. But instead of Mice and Mystics universe where you had to attach the boards, he went with a formula of flip book, where you don't have to build the board or build the scenario. You can just flip a page and the game scenario is exactly over there. All the rules are given on the page. It was much more simple. You had more diversified art. So Aftermath was that evolution, and that's why I loved Aftermath much more than Mice and Mystics. Aftermath also evolved the formula of Mice and Mystics, because Mice and Mystics was okay, you have just two actions in it. You can move and then you can do one other action, which might be attack, which might be search for items, etc. And Aftermath evolved that formula by using a deck of cards, and then using that deck of cards you could do some actions. Now this game even evolves that formula into a deck building kind of game. The deck building is kind of slow and small part, but the deck of cards itself has much more functionality. Now it adds a little bit of more complexity, but I think that is a welcome change, because otherwise the games, especially Mice and Mystics, was very simple, and even my family thought that, well, this is too much of a kids game, not even a family game. And that's why Familiar Tales just hits the right mark for a family game rather than a kids game only. Now, other than that, what they also brought is the Playdead Games has also Forgotten Water series, which is having the full voiceover app narration of everything. And well, that game was very much dependent on the app, whereas the game element in it was very weak. So what if those two genres join together, where you could have the strong gameplay that Jerry Hawthorne brings for the families, and you could have the very strong voice narration, full audio, immersion, sound effects, music of Forgotten Waters, and combine them in one game. That's what you're going to get in Familiar Tales. So let's get closer to the table, and then let me show you how this game actually works and why I'm so excited for it. This is how the game setup of Familiar Tales is going to be looking like, and each character is going to take one of these four characters, and they are going to come with their own starting decks, which are going to be kept in one of these boxes, and they are going to take accordingly one of these character sheets as well, which is going to tell one of their special abilities that they are going to have. So for example, if I'm going to be playing the chalk character, then I will be taking his character sheet. I'll take these away. You will be always playing with all the characters, so if you are playing with less than 4 characters, then the game is going to guide you that how you are going to mix the cards of 2 characters or 3 characters even, and then play with them. What you will be getting within this is you will be getting your own personal deck of cards, which is going to improve with time as well. So you might have some starting cards which have your own character's image at the bottom, as well as you progress further in the game, you will be building your deck or improving your deck, and they will have, which you can buy from the market, and they will have a cost of the card which you spent during the campaign and bought that card at the bottom as well. So that's why you will be keeping those cards in the box to remember that these are now your own personal deck. In addition, from game to game, you might be getting some items as well. Some items you will start your game with, which are going to have your character portrait again at the back, and some items you're going to craft or gain through the campaign, and those you're going to equip along the journey, which are going to help you on your quest. So for example, currently I'm carrying a weapon and a shield, plus in case you carried any other resources from the previous game, you will be carrying those. But even if you are starting a new game, you will not be having any of these, but you will gain them during your campaign. Now, how the campaign is going to run is, let's come to this book. This is the main book where all the missions, all the pages are going to be. It's a flip book in which you are going to be shown the different campaign pages which you can encounter and then play on. The beauty of this is that you get different artwork every time. You don't have to set up anything from the game boards, from the game pieces. You don't have to play on generic tiles. You will get the distinctive artwork on each and every page, plus all the enemy descriptions, all the special setup for the missions. Everything is given on the second page. So if I'm here, it's going to exactly tell me what enemies are going to be, where do I have to start, what enemies are going to spawn, how much health they have, how much attack they have, and what's my end goal that I have to do for this one. So to avoid the spoilers, I'm starting on this one because this is going to be the first mission that you are going to play in the game. How also you're going to use is, you're going to use an app for this, which is this Familiar Tales app. Let me turn on the brightness. So this is the Familiar Tales, well, not app, it's a website. So you can open it on your laptop, you can open it on iPad, phone, and you can start playing. If you're starting a new game, you will click start new game, and it will ask you that how you want to stream your music, fully loaded, high performance, or you want to stream music, or you want to go with low music, and then accordingly your performance is going to be. New game, let me say whatever name I want to give, Twimp, and it's going to ask me even for the setup guide. So even if you don't know how to play or even set up the game has a good tutorial. I'm going to skip this one, and it's going to teach you how to go through all of the setup phases. So here you can see that it's taking me through all the setup phases. So it's asking me how to set up. Would you like the app to help set up? No, I've already set it up, and I want to set up your game. No. So it's automatic. It's now taking me directly to the app. Now, if I'm here and I want to start the journey, I'm also going to have a campaign log. If I'm at any location, I can always type in that number and it's going to show me what's going to happen over there. So I'm going to be starting. If I went through the startup, it will tell me to type 101, and it's fully voiced startup.
The night hung heavy over the countryside, as did the dark rain clouds that traversed the sky. The land was hilly and green, and mostly uninhabited, save for a modest cottage that was little more than a single room. Lightning crashed as the sound of frantic pounding came from outside the cottage door. Old Marilius called out,
"Hold on! Goodness me!"
The old wizard crawled out of bed and found his robe. But where was his hat? No matter,
So in this way, let me turn down the music. In this way, you're going to get all the app as well as the instructions. Sometimes it is going to give you options, and then you're going to select about the options, ask questions. So it's all not app driven. The game itself is completely devoid of app usage, but it's the campaign that happens outside. You don't have any narrative book, and all the narrative is being written, and that's my preferred way of app implementation in any game. That while I'm playing a game, don't make me look at the app over and over for every turn, that what's the enemy doing. I don't like that kind of interaction where for each and everything I have to click an app, and it feels like, well, it seems like a video game, but they have just made few components in a board game form. So this is my perfect way of how to implement an app in a video game, in a board game, that you just keep the narrative with the voice acting and some few choices and things randomized based on that. Maybe the setup randomizes, and then let me play the game on the paper, and that's what it's going to do. At some points it is going to still let me go that a story element is going to happen, so go back to the app. Now let's go to how the game is actually played. This is game is kind of a dungeon crawler, but it's mostly controlled by your deck of cards. You will be shuffling your deck of cards, and in a standard kind of fashion you will be taking 5 cards, and using those cards you can do different kind of actions. These cards are going to have different kind of symbols at the side provided. So if you want to move, you will be looking at your boots ability that is going to be available. The boots tell how much far I can walk. So if I'm walking with chalk, I can walk across dotted lines by using one movement space. So I can move here and then here. I can never cross double lines. So this is indicating that somewhere in the map itself, it's an impassable terrain. For example, if there is a fence or something, I cannot cross that. So I will be using 1 and 2. But if I land on a story element, for example here 102, I'll be tapping that in the app as well, and the app is going to run a story narrative that, for example, he sees 2 ruffians who are out there and they are unsavory characters who are trying to grab the baby which we are trying to save. The game is going to revolve around the story of a baby. You will be finding that out in the first scenario, so it's not really a surprise or a secret thing, so I'm revealing at least that much. And they are on the hunt for it, so you need to keep the baby safe from them. Maybe that's what his chalk is going to find. Now that's your movement. All the other symbols are going to be your different kind of skill tests. So we have the red symbol for might, we have the agility, or which is used for range attack as well, then we have the shield which is for defense, and then we have the insight which is used for talking or perception kind of checks. We have these abilities. In addition to these standard abilities, every card is going to have a special symbol on the top. Whenever this card is played, you can trigger that special ability based on what kind of action did you take. For example, if I use this card for any kind of skill test, this re-roll symbol indicates that I can re-roll, but I didn't perform a skill test. But instead, if I was performing a fight action, so fight will require me to roll a dice, and if I roll a dice and I'm not happy with the results of the dice, this card, since I use this card to initiate the fight, then I am able to re-roll the dice as well. So that's one of the card abilities. Similarly, some of these cards are going to give me additional abilities. For example, this card lets me draw an additional card from my deck, but drawing an additional card is also going to increase my fatigue. Fatigue is indicated by this, so it goes as a bad card in my deck only on a temporary basis, that I did an extra thing, so it fatigued me, which at that time I might need to do, but it also is going to increase the danger later on in the game. Now, what does the danger do? As the danger increases in the game, there are going to be things which are bad that are going to happen. As the danger increases, the baby is going to become anxious, the baby is going to start crying, and that's the kind of thing that's going to be tracked on this board. On this board, we are going to track how much misfortune is going to happen. The more the misfortune, this is the really bad track which determines the overall bad scenarios that can happen in the game. So the more misfortune happens, the story can change as well. Then there is discontent of the baby itself. So first, the discontent is going to increase the more danger there is. The discontent is that the baby is becoming anxious, but we will have to quiet up the baby. Maybe at this time, the baby, we can just soothe the baby by insight check. But when the baby gets more cranky, we will have to feed it as well. And that's where the resources come into play, that we might have to gather food, which and feed it to the baby. How do we gather food? For example, on some of the locations there will be symbols which are resource symbols. These circular location symbols are resources and we can collect them. Each page is going to give a forage difficulty test of perception or insight. So this is 3 insight, and if I'm able to place those cards, so for example, and you can apply multiple cards for any skill test as well. So if I have to fulfill a 3 difficulty level skill test, maybe I will play these 3 cards in combination to each other. So what they will allow me is, this is 2 insight, 1 plus 1, so this is giving me 4 insight, and then I will be rolling a dice. So 4 insight and a danger. So 4 is greater than 3. I was successful in picking up a food. All the tokens are available here in a token tray that comes with the game, and I will be taking the food items. And first of all, there will be a cross symbol placed here which indicates that food has been already picked up from here, so no other character can take the food, and I will be taking a food token and adding it to my supply. And that's how the forage action is going to take place. You can gather different kind of resources which are the circular icons, and those are available in this token tray as well, and you can gather this food, and maybe that food I will have to spend to reduce the discontent of the baby. If I'm unable to do it, and all these discontent items are given on a card that based on the discontent value of the baby, what are the different things that I will have to perform. If the discontent had increased even more, the baby is going to, well, destroy his diaper, and we will have to change its diaper, and we will need a new cloth to change it. So that's why we might be looking for that kind of resource as well. If it goes more and more and more, the app is going to even ask for things that, okay, is the discontent up to this level, and then more bad things and more misfortune and even more enemies might be popping up if we are unable to control the distress of the baby. So keeping the baby happy all the time is going to be one of the major tasks that you will be doing, not only dealing with the enemies on the board but also dealing with the troubles of the baby. So it's a very annoying baby that you will be dealing with. Overall, the objective of majority of the missions is going to be that you want to complete whatever is the objective given on the mission, which is normally defeat the enemies that are there, clear it of the threats, and then move to the exit area. All the characters should reach the exit area and then make an exit, and you will be reading what's the exit area. You don't have to defeat all the enemies if you want. If a fight is looking very difficult, you can run away from a fight, but it is going to increase your misfortune. If you are able to successfully run away, then you can read the next entry. It's going to give a number and you will be tapping that in your app, and it's going to tell what happens next. It might tell you that look at your campaign log and then go to the next location or mark the next location. And sometimes the campaign log or the campaign journal which is provided has branching locations as well, and you might have to decide which way you want to go. And that's why this is a replayable campaign as well, because maybe you complete it one time in one way and then next time you want to try differently. Even how the baby grows up is going to be different as well. Now that's not a secret, even though I would prefer that the game would have kept that thing a secret. But as time passes or you go through the game, there is going to be a second era in which the baby grows further, and you will be opening more things from the second era card, and then there are going to be things which are going to be in a level 3 or campaign 3, and there are different pages that are going to be available. Now in your cards, the cards aren't going to be just these. There are going to be some special cards which will have some special abilities at the bottom as well. So sometimes you want to use that ability and you can play a card for that special action which is given at the bottom of your cards as well. How do you improve these cards? Well, there will always be, as I mentioned before, a market area from where you can buy these cards. But buying is not going to be easy. You need to increase your power of character, which brings me to this dial. Each character, once you select a character, you're going to get a dial which indicates its health and the energy that it has. You can gain energy by defeating enemies, by completing story elements. The game is going to tell when you are going to get some energy. For each 3 energy, you can buy one of these upgrade cards. But there are also going to be some story or bond cards as well, which are bought for 1 energy. What these let you do is get progress the character progression of your own character or bond with the baby. So you have to buy these for 1 energy, and then they will go in front of you, and you have to wait till you clear the area of the enemies, and then one of the story elements on this is going to trigger. The number is given in a chart below here, and you're going to mark it off the next whichever number is available, type it in the app, and it's going to tell something, some backstory or some character progression story about your character or your bonding movement with the baby. It's going to reveal that kind of a funny, kind of a touching story, which is going to let you gain some ability as well. So there are cards of this. Once you buy any card out of this, for example, these 2 cards were bought, there will be more cards revealed, and the market will always be available with more and more cards. Other than these cards, why you're gaining these supplies, not only just for the baby, but there will be more resource types available. As you can see, there are variety of resources available. Then there are these crafting items as well, which are normally made by 2 or max some in future eras will be made of 3 items, which you can make. So you can discard those based on the recipe given at the bottom. You can discard them and buy one of these items, and they can be added to your, and you will gain those kind of special abilities which might help you in fights, which might help give you one-time abilities to use, help you with skill checks, help you calm the baby, etc, etc. And that kind of standard affair is there as well. Then how do you defeat the enemies? Well, you're going to be, if you have melee characters, you will be using the red melee attack, the might, to do skill checks. You will be again doing the same kind of skill test. You will be assigning a level of cards, rolling a dice, adding up the numbers, and then you will be doing. How the cooperative action is going to come into play is that some of these cards have a link or cooperation symbol on them. For example, this one. Any other character on their turn can play this symbol on your turn as well to support you for that specific action. So if you see that, okay, you are not going to be able, based on the stats of the enemy of how much attack it has, you are not able to defend, or vice versa, then they can support by using one of their cards. But that does mean that for their next turn, they will have 1 less card available in their own hand for their own turn, because they started supporting you. So that's the cooperative element of things as well. You can share things with each other, but that also increases the danger level of the game. The health of these enemies is tracked by these cubes directly on the board. As soon as you keep hitting them, and once their health is 0, they will be removed from the game. The game comes with a variety of enemies that you get to defeat. So there will be some bad super bad guys, there will be some generic guys that you get to fight. So a lot of variety of enemies are available in the game, some for boss fights, but well, these are painted. Your copy will of course come unpainted. I have painted mine, but again, they look, the models are really nice. They give a whimsical fairy tale kind of look, but they are not very generic looking as well. They have kind of a boogie monster, very unique bats, knights, and this really scarecrow looking like creature, witch creature. So they are really unique, which are going to be there. This lieutenant is really cool in his golden armor as well. But anyway, the models are really good looking as well. Even your own characters are the familiars of a wizard. So they are unique with their own unique abilities as well. So you will have the frog Gribbert, Blaze the fox, the fairy, and Chalk, who doesn't talk by himself, but he has a talking bird who is sitting on his shoulder. So everyone has unique personalities among the characters which are going to come into play. And that's how the game is going to work out with different characters. There will be some specific special moments in the game where you might be getting some special story related items as well. But again, you might not get them based on the events, on how you explore, on how you do things. So there is always an element that you can replay this game and get more out of the game on a second play as well. So even though the game could have been done in a legacy fashion as well, but they have made it a replayable game, which is always a welcome addition. Now, let's get back to the table and let me tell you my final thoughts about the game. Now that you have seen how the game actually works and how the app is super nice implemented in it, I have given much of my opinions already during the review. One of the things I do recommend was that these kind of boxes which were provided with the game, actually when you will open the game, they will come as flat. All the components will be outside, and one of the first things that the game will ask you to do is segregate all the components and put them in the right boxes. I think if they had already done it before the game was shipped out, it would have given it a sense of more mystery, and people who like more legacy elements in their game or mystic elements in the game, who like a reveal, they would have been more interested in keep playing this game and found more interest in playing it. But one of the things I did, at least for my family, was that before they saw anything in the components, I did it. Even I hid the special miniatures inside those boxes before they could see it, and that's how we played. And it actually enhanced, because my family was thinking, oh, are we about to end? All the components seem to have finished. And then the second box was revealed, and then now they know there is also a third box for which they are excited on how it is going to be revealed. So that reveal element is always a playerful thing in games, and I think they should have kept that. They could have made it even a full legacy game, because right now the game asks you that, okay, any component that is not going to be used later on because you never achieved that specific condition, you never got that card, you're going to put it in a discard box or destroyed component box. I think that's a better idea than destroying or ripping off a card so that you can replay the whole game. So I prefer that element over a legacy game, because the only bad thing with a legacy game is that you cannot replay the whole thing. But this game is fully replayable. The game comes with extra journal entry sheets as well, so you can replay the game as well. Plus, you can take out the components that you had thrown in a discard box and reset your complete game. So even though those components, those special items may not have evolved or come in your story last time, you can experience them in a future game. Now, I love how the gameplay is simple, yet the card has so many mechanics in them, with the special symbols, with the different kind of skill test, with the different movement rules for each of the character are going to bring their own special unique abilities that they have to take care of. I only showed you chalk, but I didn't go into the special abilities of each of the characters, but there are things which make each of them unique, and you will have to use their special abilities to be more efficient in the game as well. There is a variety of characters that are going to be there, and their attacks are going to be unique. The one thing about the product, so the production is beautiful. The flip books, I always love flip books in game. It makes the setup so easy. So I wish more games adopt this as compared to your tiles, even though it's just paper as compared to your thick cardboard, but it just makes the game setup so much easier. So I love everything about the production of this game except this token tray, because even though this is very handy, you can keep all your token organized in this, but the game has actually double the token variety than what's available in this one. So you can only keep your resource token in this, but there are going to be tokens for your poison effects, your trap tokens, your already consumed no tokens. There are going to be cubes. So where do I keep all of those? There isn't. So they thought of organization tray for your food or resource items, but there isn't any organization for your other items. What I ended up doing was actually mixing 2 components per box here, because that somehow at least kept them organized. But I thought it was half thought of that how all the components, all the tokens are going to be organized in the game. But that's my only complaint in the game. Otherwise, all other things are going to be all other things are superb. Just one more issue regarding the production, that everything else was a miniature except these enemies, which are the plants. So I'm not sure that why they decided that for plants they are not going to provide miniature. They have miniatures for each and every one, each and every creature in the game. But for the plant enemies, which do appear in few of the scenarios, they just went with, well, standees. Not sure why that decision was there, but anyway, so that was just looks out of the consistency of things. But anyway, if you ignore that consistency, it works fine. It's just about that it's not consistent with the remaining production approach. So other than these few production issues, I think the game is a fantastic game, especially for families. The gameplay is engaging enough that if you have already a family level, this is not a game for kids, because the card mechanisms are going to present a challenge which are going to be more for a family to play together, but not for kids to play alone. To find the synergies of strategy, when to use the cards, because if you use the cards for defense, you might not have cards left over for attack. So how do you help each other out, because maybe someone else has to come and take the attack for you, so that you can make your attack better, because maybe you have better attack cards this term. So that kind of discussion around the table is going to be forced in this game a lot. From a cooperative sense, this is a fabulous game. The voice acting, superb. The immersion in this game is going to be superb, and you have a sense of mystery in the story as well, that okay, what's actually happening, and what are we going to do with all the scenario that gets created. Again, I don't want to spoil the story, but it is a kind of a well-known trope of fantasy story, not fantasy, or fairy tale stories, but it's a nice twist that now familiars are taking care of a baby rather than a hero taking care, or the heroine herself taking care of on the run. So it's a nice story as well. So from me, overall, it's a highly recommended game. I think this is the pinnacle of games that Jerry Hawthorne has produced, Played Hat Games have produced. So out of all Stuffed Fables, Mice and Mystics, Aftermath, out of everything that has been done, I think this game is my favorite of the series, and I give it my 2 thumbs up recommendation for families. That's it for me. Happy gaming.